Zinedine Zidane has the wins at Real Madrid. Where is the praise? Munich, unlikely as it seems, it may be time to consider the distinct possibility that Zinedine Zidane, winner of the Champions League in each of his first two seasons as a manager, and now on the brink of guiding Real Madrid to the competition's final for a third year in a row, may be quite a good coach. That his brief managerial career has thus far delivered 8 trophies in not quite 30 months should have made that perfectly obvious. Of course, by this stage, the fact that he could steer his team to a 2-1 victory at Bayern Munich in the first leg of a Champions League semi-final should barely be worthy of note. Zidane the coach, not unlike Zidane the player, has known nothing but success. And yet the sort of acclaim that flows so freely towards some of his contemporaries, the breathless paeans of praise, the lavish adjectives, the exclamations of genius have, for some reason, continued to elude Zidane, even as he has picked up prize after prize. He often does not receive mention in discussion as to who, precisely, are the finest coaches of this generation. Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho, of course, would be the first to spring to mind. Zidane has won the Champions League as many times as either of them, and in a fraction of the time. With the exception of his one-time boss Carlo Ancelotti, Zidane's resume, on a continental level, compares favorably to all of the other contenders who might warrant a mention, to Massimiliano Allegri, Jurgen Klopp, Maurizio Sarri and Antonio Conte have never won club soccer's greatest honor, and yet all seem to be held in higher esteem than Zidane, the first coach to retain the Champions League, a man just 2 games away from becoming only the 3rd coach ever to win the competition 3 times, and the first to do so in consecutive years. Why might that be? Perhaps it is, in part, because of the perception, one not rooted entirely in fantasy, that this Real Madrid team requires less coaching and more gentle calibration. That it is a side of such precision and finesse that the manager is reduced to something between a mascot and an administrator, there to hand in the lineup sheet and to cheerlead. Perhaps, and here, too, there is some reason, it is because of the great cult of the individual, one individual in particular, that has enveloped this Real Madrid for most of the last decade. No matter who the manager is, this will always be Cristiano Ronaldo's team. Its triumphs are his triumphs, its trophies are his trophies, almost always achieved through his own divine intervention. Ronaldo always takes center stage. At Real Madrid, the coach is relegated to the supporting cast. But perhaps there is something else at play, too, a sense that Zidane can be overlooked because he does not fit the criteria we expect from a great 21st century coach. This is an age of the manager as visionary and philosopher, there not simply to hone the skills, maintain the fitness and direct the energies of elite athletes but to deploy them in the service of some grand idea, not just to make them a team, but to make them a story, to give them a purpose, an identity. That idea is appealing, of course, because it creates the illusion that someone is in control of the general chaos that defines even the most rarefied level of soccer. For fans and owners invested, emotionally and financially, in the sport, the idea that much of what happens on the field is down to random chance is deeply unsatisfactory. It is much more appealing to believe that one transcendent figure can master the mayhem. It is soccer's avowed belief that the manager alone has that agency, that power, less coach, more guru. If that belief has plenty of historical antecedents, from Helena Herrera of Inter Milan to Matt Busby of Manchester United, then it has found its greatest modern expression in Guardiola, designer of the first truly great team of the 21st century, the Barcelona of 2008 to 2012. Fans, and clubs, see Guardiola as a managerial paradigm, consumed by prophetic zeal, purveyor of a distinct, unequivocal style. He paces relentlessly on the touchline, trying to communicate his ideas to his players, to obtain his own inner peace through some sporting perfection. He talks at almost impossible speed, ideas forming and tumbling out of his brain almost too fast for him to verbalize them. He operates on a different level, sees the game more deeply, more clearly, than we can realize. Zidane does not fit that mold at all. He speaks slowly, deliberately, as if he is fastidiously refusing to say anything noteworthy. He is by nature taciturn, bordering on shy. He does not pretend to be the standard bearer for a school of thought, to have some higher purpose, to wish to transform the game. He selects his team, and his team plays well, and, in the Champions League at least, invariably wins. In a culture that demands complication, he represents a simplicity bordering on asceticism. His successes, of course, are the most powerful proof that he is more than he seems, but there are the small details, too, the way he fulfills the most basic, most important requirement of a manager, to influence the course of an individual game.